morning, everyone. Welcome to the metal markets. Let's have a look at what these crazy markets have in store for us today. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Market Stalker D, aka Deeyana Angelo. I've been trading for almost 20 years at this point, and I'm a commodities trader specializing in metals and energies. And over here, I do overview both of those sectors. So we're going to focus on some gamma levels, average ranges, profiles from yesterday, and just to see how the market may play out. If you've been here for a while, you do know that I've been with Topstep for over 10 years now. I was their first female funded trader, and I got to meet the entire team through what was then Squawk Radio. So think Topstep TV, but just on radio. Some years later, they decided to start Topstep TV, so I joined them in August 2023, and I've been a part of this new exciting YouTube journey ever since. All right, hopefully my audio is... I'm still waking up, by the way. I didn't have the best sleep. I decided to go out on Sunday, and today I'm kind of feeling the effects. And I only went to the movies. We went to see Project Hail Mary. It was great, but I experienced this post-exertional malaise, and today it's like kind of hitting me across the face. Sometimes it's a day late, so that's what I have to deal with. Yesterday I was being tortured by copper, and that kind of continues today. So what I was expecting copper to do is really what silver did, right? So usually what happens into the end of Tokyo is to have the low that's established pretty much in that last hour of Tokyo, and then before, like as soon as Shanghai last hour begins, they tend to reverse a lot of that move. So silver did it, right? But silver is too big for this account that I've got at the moment. I'm just kind of starting it, and yeah, it's annoying that I entered this trade using the same idea, you know, I waited nicely and patiently, but then it kind of hit VWAP and it didn't move further. So we're going to see how that plays out. So far, GEX1 at 540 on copper has been, you know, the area that they haven't been able to run through. Of course, we still have headline risk, so everything can change in a blink of an eye. I am still trading micros, so still trading super small. And you can see I'm in a short on crude oil. That is basically just playing off of a similar idea that the Shanghai, which has been trading crude oil quite a bit. Now, normally Asia is not really a big thing for crude oil, but recently they've been super active. So I've expected the same sort of behavior, so that's the idea that I had. We do have some more important levels down at 85, so we still have a weaker put wall there. I'm just going to check whether it's still weak today. Yeah, it's still weak, so even if we get down to 85, it might bounce because that's where it bounced yesterday. So it would make sense to retest that. Everyone is waiting on some sort of maybe not a resolution, but maybe a push forward to maybe start negotiations with Iran. And if that happens and they come to any sort of a decent agreement, crude oil is probably going to drop like a stone in about a blink of an eye. So if that does to happen, you can basically just pray that you're on the right side of that. And if not, if there's still some negative news, well, I have my stops there. So, you know, there's not much you can do with headline risk that is not scheduled, that just kind of comes and blindsides you out of nowhere. And that's why we have to have these risk controls in place. And just see how the day happens. What surprised me yesterday about the NYMEX session on crude oil is that I think we all expected that this sort of price action that we had earlier is going to continue for the majority of the day. And even though we had so many news, it seems like headline risk and news were coming out like every 2 to 3 minutes, and it was very conflicting information. First, Trump comes out and says, we are working towards a complete and total revolution and we're negotiating, smash. And then later on in the day, Iranians come out and they go, actually, we're not talking. But then they're like, well, we agreed for a 5-year cease of our missile program, so you are talking. And then, so many conflicting things. And I think you can see that in crude oil price action where they were super undecided. It's like, where are we going? Like a big tug of war that ultimately went nowhere. But this does give us some information, right? So we can use the previous day's value area to see what we might have. This is where the value area is located. So we're currently inside of it. This is NYMEX value, not London, because I always use NYMEX value for open sentiment. And we also have the gamma flip dead in the middle of the London initial balance, which usually statistically tends to kill the continuations. They are definitely glued to that area right now, and they're trying to decide what to do. So at the moment it's not very clear, but we have a little failed auction in London. And if that continues into a neutral day, maybe, just maybe, we have a good chance of at least reaching 86. If we get to 86, I might just take the profits rather than chasing for an extra 70 cents or so. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But right now we're inside that value. If NYMEX opens above this, there are two things that are probabilistically possible. The first one would be that they continue, maybe test into the value, then fail the downside auction, and then continue higher. That would definitely be one choice. Second choice is if we open up inside value, that's probably going to be a lot of tug of war yet again before they decide where to go. The third option is that we get a big smash down during this stream, and we end up opening NYMEX below value. When we open below value but not too far away, that tends to bring more shorts into consideration, because this is a short bias product if you look at the last sort of decade, maybe even longer. And even though it's had periods of uptrend, those tend to be relatively short-lived compared to the downside trends. So this is why if I see an open below value and it starts to extend, if I'm already in a position, I will stay on that trade. But also note that generally outside of headline risk, failed auctions into the London close, in and around the London close time, are very high probability on crude oil. But headline risk has put a bit of a wrench in the works there. And I'm seeing more incidents of trend days where if you extend the initial balance to one side and you're not really anywhere inside, so if you're not failing the auction properly, it tends to bring a trend day, and that's just a result of headline risk, literally. So those are some points to think about. Other than that, that's all I have on crude oil at the moment. Now let's have a look at copper. Copper slowed down quite a bit. It seems to do most of its activity in the pre-NYMEX COMEX and then maybe for the first couple of hours. And I'm seeing it sort of slowing down for the latter part of that session. That means that I actually prefer to trade copper either during Asia or right after Tokyo ends if I am awake at that time. So that move higher may still happen. Copper is currently in a neutral extension, which means very little considering that the initial balance is only 45 ticks for London. That's like nothing. Normally in the expanded volatility times, you can expect at least 70 ticks, which would be more normal. This is a very small initial balance. So naturally an extension on both sides is not unusual, but it also doesn't really provide much information for me. and therefore I want to see what they want to do. We have some pretty important levels lower down. That 520 is still there. Even though it's kind of a weaker put wall, it's still there. So it's far enough to be considered as a potential bounce point if we ever get there, especially if it happens in one day or a pretty quick run down. But if it starts to rise, I'm really looking at this gamma wall, which is what I was looking at yesterday. Nothing's really changed. It's still the same weekly plan. Copper is used in a variety of chips and electric vehicles and heating elements, so it's got a lot of usage, and they are always in demand, right? So it doesn't matter, like usually winter might bring some increased demand, but even through the summertime, probably because of this AI thing, you know, they are still always looking for more copper, and that should really mean that copper goes into some sort of an upside. Now the challenge here is that we've actually fallen. Let me just get rid of this news thing. Where is news? Charts and data, hide economic events. There we go. It's just cluttering up everything. Okay, that's better. Back to copper, back to the daily chart. So if I zoom out massively, and I mean massively, to the time when we had a massive smash down as a result probably of some institution blowing out during tariffs times. So this was when, you know, tariffs was still very much a big deal, and they did this this huge move, which really happened. I think it was all done in like the space of like 30 minutes, but it actually started as soon as Globex opened. So they tried to go into an all-time high, failed, and then that blowout happened, and ever since they've been trying to get back there throughout the entirety of the summer last year. Finally got there, finally made a new all-time high, just around 665, and that's where we're sitting. Now if I were to measure this whole movement from the bottom all the way to the top, and also what I'm going to do here is to modify, if I ever click on the right thing, I want it to show me not the quartiles but actually a halfway mark. So let's get rid of that, and this. You can see that they're now under this 0.5 area of retracement, and we're falling into some lower quality demands, but they're lower quality because of the nature of the quietness last year, right? So it was kind of a grind. But that's where we're at right now. So I'm kind of looking to see whether we can maybe get a more serious move back up. And if I go down to the 4-hour time frame and expand this a little bit, they already tried to do that yesterday. So this was very news driven, but it printed as a potential reversal, right? So this is where I'm basing these longs from, not just the Tokyo low and the fact that we bounced away from it, but also the fact that on the larger time frames we are in some pretty interesting areas where we may want to see some more long stepping in. The 4-hour time frame on this chart is not looking that great, but on my other platform that starts the whole 4-hour chart at 8 a.m., it's actually now looking more as a doji candle. This one looks like a you know, selling wick, but selling wicks largely in commodities tend to get taken, so they're not. I know that they should be excess, and I know that you know, a lot of profile traders are like, oh, excess, and Hogue says auctions die in excess. Yeah, sometimes on commodities, but a lot of the times what I'm seeing is that any kind of hammer candle, any kind of wick eventually gets taken. So that's the difference between equities and commodities, where equities, if you see excess, that is very likely that the auction is probably not going anywhere to that same direction, and then you can maybe look for a reversal. Well, in commodities, they're nothing more than like pivotal pops into whatever, to a level, and I'm seeing the high incidence of them being taken. So you can see that here as well, right? You have a big buying wick. Can you see that? Let me just make sure it's on the screen. Yeah. So big buying wick, and you're thinking, yay, swing, long, swing long, and then they go, meow, meow, wow. and it all just runs through. Only when they bust the bottom of that, you get a consolidation, you get a base, and then we had that big news that came out yesterday. So that's kind of what my thinking is. So I am using larger time frames for this particular trade, giving it a wide berth of whatever this is. I think it's about 70. Oh no, it's a bigger one. Yes, because it's like more of a swing. I gave it 164 tick stop. So I wanted to survive as long as possible in order for this trading idea to actually come true, right? So we're not nitpicking on stops, but we're using just one micro and not looking to do scalps or anything like that. So less work, more ticks for less size, but a decent amount of cash. That's my motto anyway. So yeah. All right, let's have a look at silver, and then we're also going to have a look at gold. Right, silver. Very nice push into the Shanghai last hour. What I was looking for in copper, which did not happen, but hey ho, pick your battles. But right now it's kind of teasing this Tokyo high. So I only look at the Asia range for Globex open and until Tokyo close, because I realized that there's some statistical probabilities around that those levels, and at the moment they're really fighting this gamma flip. Now the gamma flip at 70, it's a bit tricky because it's like I couldn't really figure out the proper gamma flip, so I'm just going to use the cluster of at the money strikes, and a lot of them were clustered around that 70 area. So it's a it's a bit of a guess, but let's just say that 70 is a gamma flip. Then to the upside, if I just look at anchors and stuff, we don't really have all that much until we reach the gamma wall out all the way up at 80. What's interesting is that whilst we had both the rallies and the sell-offs, the expansion of the implied volatility happened to both sides. So that is not very clear of what they're trying to do. Everybody's panicking. Nobody knows what's happening. And that's when you see implied volatility. It means that both the rally and the sell-offs were a surprise. So they're like, what's happening? And yeah, so they're probably just as surprised as we are. But I'm seeing this as a potential to get some more gold bars. So last night I did buy some more at the end of the day. And remember, I'm going to keep those bars for at least 10 years, maybe even 15, 20 years. So I don't really care what the price does in the interim, as long as the very long-term issue of copper, of silver supply still stays as a macro component. And it's always good to own some physicals rather than just doing intraday and not actually having any assets. Now, we do have a moderate put wall at 69. And now we're building a bit of a distribution curve in this area, right? So you can see that the prices are starting to bunch up a little bit. So there's a congestion. And this is where was that the day's high yesterday? Let me just double check. Yeah, so this was the day's high too. And, Tokyo high was made just under that. So it could be the case that we just rotate in this little distribution curve before they decide to do anything bigger. And nothing really much to see here. Because of this congestion here, it's not exactly a base, so I'm I would have liked to see more commitment to the reversal, but they've kind of reached Tokyo high and they're just hanging. That's never a good sign for a proper reversal, right? Well, I mean, maybe you'll have a day where they kind of hang and then they make a movement in the opposite direction, but usually it kind of means maybe a continuation, and just a maybe, you know, everything's probabilities, nothing works 100%, but just the reluctance to, you know, actually rotate through the Asia range, that's making me think that maybe there's a bit more juice to the upside. If we look at a daily chart, actually, that might provide some more clues. Yeah, so daily chart has that excess, but we already had one of those here. We've finally taken that out. Is this maybe a 3-bar reversal in creation on the daily chart? Maybe. But to me, this would maybe be more a 3 inside up. So if we do manage to move massively up towards, somewhere towards this 80 level, that would be the end of the swing, because 3 inside up bars typically tend to finish where they started. You can kind of see it here. So this is a classic 3 inside up pattern. And after this push higher, that was pretty much all you got before they basically dripped back down towards where it came from. You had a better quality supply demand area slightly later, but that one was nested inside this whole mess, and it did not really do anything. So we need some better quality demands. When it comes to the supplies, they're much better looking. So we have a supply all the way up at 120. We also have, this is a low quality one. Why? Because we smashed down with just one candle and then no follow through. So no follow through supplies and demands are bad quality, right? So you need to have a reversal, then a push. So when I analyze that this way, the only one that I can see here is the recent one. The rest of them are really messy, right? So if we do start to rise, there is really nothing in the way to stop it from reaching back towards 80, where we have a little speed bump. What happens there, it's anyone's guess, but from the technical standpoint, when you have a clean drop, the next logical thing would be for them to rotate through that area. So that's just some supply demand analysis on your AS. Yeah, and the rest of it, you know, this is just like something to look at as a general directional indicator, but not really a trade location. Why? Because it's too big. You can't trade off a daily chart and using a million ticks, but you can derive some information from there. Right, let's get back to gold, because gold, I think, is an interesting one. It's about to roll. In fact, it probably is rolling already. So we have 2 days to expiry of this contract. This is the April contract. So gold will be rolling into whatever it rolls into, which I have to look at the CME, because gold is a bit random with rolls. It should be a monthly contract, but it isn't. Because it depends on the requirements of the users and producers and their delivery requirements. But yeah, let's have a look at what's going on. So April is still by far the biggest one. However, gold seems to be rolling into June, GCM. So yeah, that's odd. Because, you know, you look at silver is in K, so that's May, and so is copper. But gold has to be the special one at all times, and it's going to roll straight into the June month. So that tends to bring a little bit of pinning action. Why? Because you have a whole bunch of dealers that are trying to do some business, and they're trying to, actually let's look at micro gold, because we don't want the big gold. They're trying to do a lot of hedging, right? So the gamma wall and the gamma flip today are the same price, same strike, 4,400. That might, like, look, we've got a headline risk, so anything can happen, of course. But just from a technical perspective, whenever you see this, it means that this 4,400 level is probably sort of a gravity level where, you know, the price may oscillate, probably in quite a massive range given the volatility that we have on gold. But it's probably going to oscillate quite heavily around that until the expiry. So the closer you get to expiry, the hedging of the dealers becomes more prominent. And whilst in theory you might think, oh my God, that means massive movement. No, it means pinning the price to a particular level, and then everybody's just hedging on both sides in and around that strike price. So that causes the meh rollovers, where everything is very quiet and people are complaining how shit the price action is and all that. It might happen today, right? It might be that we just spike all over the place, but ultimately don't make any new headway anywhere. The 4,500 level still remains a mega call wall today. To the downside, let me just have a look at my level. So to the downside, we do have a weaker put wall sitting at 4,350, with a bigger put wall that might be of better area if we ever get there, even though I'm doubtful, at 4,300. And then finally below that we have a minor one at 4,250 and then another one at 4,200. So there are interesting points, but every time I see lack of distance between the relevant strikes that have some anomalies and implied volatility inside them, that tends to be a very painful trade, because you get effectively a chop zone, right? So they're just kind of like getting down to one strike, then bouncing it back up, then getting down to one strike, and to add insult to injury, we have positive gamma environment as well. So that means until we get below 4,400 quite firmly, we will have that mean reverting action that happens in a positive gamma environment. So those are your levels, and those are the areas that the option market makers are looking at, and how the whole options chain is positioned. I did put some additional markers on this crude oil chart. So you will see London average session range low and London average session range high. Why? Because the alternative is that the whole ADR, like whole daily range over the 24 hours, over the last 10 days, it's actually sitting all the way up at 47.64. So we would have to have some really terrible news from the Middle East. Again, not impossible at all. It could happen in like a blink of an eye. That's why the stops are important. So if I get smacked on the face and smacked on the face, I get smacked on the face. I'll just pin it down to another Trump tweet casualty, and dust myself off and move on with my life. No point in dwelling, no point in thinking, oh my God, I missed out on some ticks. It's just headline risk. Unless you're already in and it happens to go your way, just stay the F out. Trying not to swear. I'm trying not to swear. But yeah, so I put these London average ranges there. And by the way, I have those on my utility Discord through my own sort of YouTube memberships that you can get access to. At some point I think then my team is about to finish the Ninja version of the Blocktick DR, which is the one that has all of these. Probably won't be as pretty as the one we already have on another platform. But another thing that I've been asked to do is that a lot of people are interested in these anchor points of mine, because they tend to be pretty accurate. So we're thinking of coming up with a tiny trading view indicator, and then posting strings that you can then input into that, just to have those big orientation points. Looking at the entire options chain is going to be a little bit more dynamic, because I do them in the morning, and then sometimes if something unusual happens, I actually redo them, and then you can have an updated view of the levels throughout the entirety of the options chain. But the reason why I put the average session range low and high for London is because they're closer, and because the ranges are so massive. I probably won't be waiting for 97.54, whatever I said that number was, in order to run my shorts on the day. It's too far, right, at the moment. So we'll see. Now, there is something else here that is very interesting. So as a result of that big smash from yesterday, we have this single print trail. If I enable my volume profile visible range and I do this, you will see that there's a massive cave that is just standing there as your biggest nightmare. So at some point, if they start rising, whether it's today or into this week or in a year or whatever, this remains an area where prices might pop into and then reverse on the first try. That's what a single print should do on the first test. But the more tests that single print area gets, the more likelihood that the price is going to start tracking all the way through it. In that case, things will change and we will have to modify the hypotheses as and when required once we're there. But at the moment, we're not there, right? So we didn't even get close to that, which is another reason why I was thinking, maybe shorts. Like if this was such a magnetic area for today, wouldn't have we tested that already? But we didn't. Not to say it won't get tested in NYMEX, but for now, it's just standing there. So be careful of that. And if that happens, that's an entirely different hypothesis. So that is not a reversal from the Shanghai close. That will be a test of single prints and then a massive swing all the way back down. This one is a smaller swing, still a swing, but smaller. And for now, it's just doing nothing. So we'll see how this gamma flip behaves a bit later as we get closer to the pre-market NYMEX. All right. Oh God, here we go with the news. Qatar Foreign Ministry spokesperson. Qatar offering to close the U.S. Al-Udeid, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, airbase has not been discussed at all. What does that mean? No one knows. Reserve the right to respond to any possible attack on vital infrastructure. Yeah, that will be against my trade as well, but for now it's not having a super big impact. When was that? That was a few minutes ago. Kind of trying to reverse, but it's not like they're actually... It seems like only Trump has this power to just open his mouth and make the markets go crazy. Have you noticed that? We have like a lot of, news from Iran and a whole bunch of stuff, and yet they're all talking, and crude oil is like la-di-da, just chilling, having, a good time at these levels, it's fine. And then Trump goes, we're talking, smash. We're bombing them all the way to the moon. It's like, why? Why? But for those of you who criticized me yesterday, we had a semi-troll here going, you hate Trump. I don't hate the man at all. I think he's very entertaining and he knows it, and he's a good manipulator. I think half of the things that he says is very sensationalist, just like him coming out yesterday and telling us how they're negotiating with Iran and we're going to have a complete and total resolution within 5 days. And I said, what did I say? Come on. I said I will doubt that statement because he likes to be sensationalist. And a lot of the things that he says proves to be a little bit of a twist on what is actually happening. And as a result, we had a pretty meh day because it turned out that it wasn't true. Nobody knows who they were talking to. And, it's all like a little bit wishy-washy as to what they were doing. So there was no clarity. And yet such a sensational, definitive statement should have meant we see crude oil back at 70, not at 85. And then it just immediately bounced off and stayed in this new distribution for the rest of the day. A lot of misinformation there. So, be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Joshua is asking me how do I update my AVR and ASR high-low on the chart per trade day. Well, that's somewhat proprietary, but we do track the day's highs and lows. So let's just put it that way, and then when one side exceeds that, that's your average. We have our own ways of weighting that in a specific proprietary way, which I'm not going to be giving you because I came up with it and I reserve the right to keep the secret of how I calculate those and why they're generally more accurate than anything else that you might see out there. But yeah, that's the gist of it. So you take the number and then you track highs and lows. When one side exceeds, that is the exceeded range. What's with gold? It was these news, right? It was the news, but like I said, we're going to have the pinning action around 4,400. So whoever was in a long, I'm sorry. But this is what we expect. We expect spikes. Gold is rolling in 2 days. We have expiry of the gold contract, and it's already starting to roll in the June contract. So that will mean very irrational moves. It will mean sudden moves, spikes on very low volatility. And I mean, look at it. Look at the ladder. It's just so empty. Not only do we have headline risk, we also have rollover. So gold, to me, wouldn't be my first choice of trading until it actually rolls sometime next week. You know, you can, you know, if you're really up for putting a crazy amount of cash somewhere, micro silver could be a better option because it's not in rollover. And copper, if you're not really keen on the heart palpitations that even silver can get you. So yeah, but a trade-off is that you may not get a million ticks out of it. You might get 70, 100, 200. So yeah, pick your battles, guys. Pick your battles, guys and girls. All right, let me just have a look at chat because I haven't really, I'm still kind of waking up and my focus has been all on the levels and actually telling you what, you know, what I'm seeing. I just couldn't put my attention to chat. So let's do that now. Yannick says, is there a promo at Topstep? There was one for Alex Ferreira. I don't know whether that's still going. But if that one's over, or if you've already used that one, then I would say no. And also promos at Topstep are few and far between, because we're not a discount firm. We want, like, do you want quality, do you want cheap? That is the question you want to ask. Do you want no drama on payouts? Or do you want, you know, constant promos, which would change the entire business model of the company? So we abolished frequent did you see that? Did you see that? That's what you call teleporting, right? So the price just disappears from the top. It's like, where did it go? And it just teleports because it's so thin. So yeah, I would avoid. But yeah, so apart from the Alex code, if that's not working, then there are no other promo codes. Leg Fenrir with a really relevant comment here. Please check Tesla. Yeah, because that's my primary thing in life, to be checking Tesla. I'm a commodities trader, mate. I do trade DAX. So, you know, if you've got something on one of the DAX companies, I really couldn't care less what Tesla is doing. I don't have any money in it. I am, even when I do portfolio picking, like I've done so little picks, so few picks over the years. I have my own favorites. One of them is Palantir. I grabbed that at about $9 and I'm never selling it. Maybe when I'm retired. And I've said this before. Now, before when we had the tariffs, I had one troll in here who was like, so he's still keeping a Palantir? And I was like, yeah, what's your point? And then he kept coming in every day that it was kind of falling. So what about now? Are you still keeping it? And then it only fell like barely 15% from the top before they went all the way to the high, made a new high. I haven't looked at it recently, but again, that's a long-term play for me. I really couldn't care less what happens in a week or even in a month. So I may check it every 6 months. But Tesla is not one of my investments. Don't care much for it. I do think that some of the companies that we're seeing in regards to the AI are going through a bit of a bubble. So, you know, maybe once we get down to 20%, I might have a look at some of them. But at the moment, what Tesla is doing on the day is not really phasing me, even the slightest, because I'm looking at what energies are doing, I'm looking at what gold is doing, I'm looking at what copper, silver, RBOB, heating oil, and platinum are doing, okay? So let's stay on the same page. You want NQ, Tesla, all of that. This is probably not the stream for you. I will be painfully honest here. because I don't trade NQ. I used to. I don't really anymore. I don't remember last time I did an NQ trade, to be honest. I still every so often do a YM trade towards the end of the day, end of the session. I do trade DAX in the morning sometimes. Again, not every single day. But, I look for some of the more stronger setups and opportunities. So if I see that. The last one that I ran was a very good short right before this whole thing started. So I grabbed a decent chunk. And since then, I haven't really traded DAX much. So I'm very selective, and I'm really not a core equities trader. I do not identify as such. I identify as Jedi. Don't know whether you have pronouns for that, but yeah. Oh, my sister's in the chat. Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, good morning. Right, so Bruno told you, yeah, so Alex Gold is apparently still a thing. Metals are very news-based movers. Yeah, as are some equities as well. Depends on the news, right? So usually crude oil is super sensitive to anything going on in the Middle East because it affects the crude oil supply, which we all live on, right? The world still lives on fossil fuel. I wish that wasn't the case, but unfortunately it is. So for that reason, if there is a potential for disruption in crude oil transportation, storage, which there is at the moment, even if they end the war tomorrow, we're still going to be reeling from it like for months and months before they come back to the baseline that they had before all of this, how should I say, the shit show started. I'm trying to keep it PG, but I just can't with certain things. It's not that bad of a word, is it? But yeah. Why is the market slow today? Because we haven't started yet. I mean, this is the London session. Gold and like generally, this part of the day is not the best one. You will start to see things livening up when 1140 comes in. That's when the LME starts trading, but then you also get to that hour before COMEX open. So the Americans start waking up, they start doing their trading, and that tends to start kicking things off properly. So this is just an overview when things are a little bit more quiet, and just setting up for the day, doing your hypos. And the markets could be in a bit of a hangover state as well. We've had a lot of movement and a lot of headline risk with no resolution, no clear guidance of what's happening or what they're doing. But yeah, it's all just up in the air, and everybody's on the edge of their seat waiting for the next piece of news. So that's the environment that we're in. Please use stops, please size down, especially if you're a new trader. You don't want to be blindsided by a Trump tweet and then account gone. Don't want to do that. V79X, I have 200 of drawdown out of 2K reset. We'll keep going. I would say reset, man. Honestly, once you get to below 500, that's very difficult. You have your back against the wall. I'm not really of the opinion that, oh yeah, you should definitely try to get out of a drawdown. But there is a cutoff point. So anything below 500, just start again. Take it as a learning curve, export the file so that you can have the stats of what you've done that you shouldn't be doing, and also some good things that you've done, right? It's not all bad. I know that the results at the end of the day might not be good, but there will be good decisions that you've made inside a day that you can carry over into the next attempt. Okay, so just don't give up. Keep changing things around, tweaking. When we say create a plan, everybody's like, but my plan is wrong. It's like, yeah, that's the progress, right? So the plan is not there to be like completely flawless and never have mistakes. The plan is a progression tracker. What works? What doesn't work? How did you approach it? Do you have any mental triggers as things were happening? Were you able to see your setup in real time rather than just hindsight? Because I know that a lot of traders have this tendency to do backtesting, and then they just do backtesting to death. Now, backtesting is good to test the function of a setup, but it's really not going to do anything for your emotions, mental triggers, and the things that you may have. I'm just going to let the deaf cavalier out of my office. Otherwise, Crichton is not happy with him. So I'll be back in a second. For those of you new here, I do have 8 dogs in my household, and the oldest one at the moment is the dad of the pups. So he is 13 and a half years old. He's a Cavalier. He is deaf as a post, can't hear squat. But he loves being with me in the office, and he has his cool mat that he normally sleeps on, but he's on diuretics because he's in heart failure. That's well managed, so he's still alive, still happy. He went to doggy school yesterday for the first time in forever, and stayed there for a couple of hours, and he was so happy. So at the moment, his quality of life is more important than how long he lives, and it's going to be super heartbreaking when I do lose him, which may happen this year, so I'm kind of trying to mentally prepare myself for that. But as a result, we do have 6 of his kids, so each of them have a piece of him. So that's just what's happening outside of trading in my life that I'm gonna have to deal with at some point this year. Absolutely hate it, but hey. Right, Mr. Frostline is saying, "Hey Dee, I have been watching your London streams from the States for nearly a year. You have helped my trading massively. I still struggle with tilt and throwing profitable accounts. Any advice?" Yeah, so this will be more on the mental trigger side, right? Because you're obviously able to get to a funded account, and yet you're not able to hold on to them. At this point, your strategy is probably not your problem. Your problem is doing trades as an emotional decision. You will need to identify. So we have somebody called Jared Tendler. He's a guy who coaches golfers and traders alike. So basically anyone who's in a high pressure environment. He defines the state as A game, B game, C game. With the A game, where you're doing all the right things, you're getting the results, you're noticing the patterns when your mental triggers arise. Now, if you don't know your mental triggers and you're just like, well, I just go on tilt. But you need to get to the root of why that happens. What was the specific thing that happened in the markets that caused you to lose the plot? So you then put that as C game. But there will be many other signs in the middle, which is B game, where your game starts to slip, right? So you're doing everything right, but then, maybe Trump opens his mouth and maybe you get an unexpected loss. So now you're frustrated. That's a trigger. And you need to be aware of that. So you define all of these, and, I have quite a few. I have moving stops to break even, then the market going to my target without me on it because I put it to break even. Terrible. Always frustrates me, right? Even after 20 years. My second one is where I start, it's a range day, and I start flipping and flopping directions around the same level. I'm long, I'm short, I'm long, and yet it's staying in a zone. What am I doing? So that's one of mine. The next one would be trying to use smaller stops because I want bigger size, and then getting smacked on the face, and again, price doing what it's supposed to be doing, but I'm not in it. Again, that's a repeating pattern of mine. Trading outside of the times of day when I should be executing trades, that's another one. So basically I'm staring at New York lunchtime when I'm traditionally not good, because it's not a great time for mean reversions or continuations. It's just rangy, and I'm a mean reversion trader by my core, but if I identify a range day early enough, I'm actually good at range days now, but it took me 7 years to get good at them from the start of my career. And then 7 years into it, I was like, oh, I get it. But I still find them annoying, right? So I can make money doing them. It's just my natural side to look at the markets is to look at bigger chunks of the move. So you have to go with your personality as well. But if you say things like, oh, I'm a scalper because I have no patience, that's not your personality, right? That's a character flaw, right? And then you have to wonder, well, as a scalper, are you successful? If the answer to that is no, you then need to do what's best for your trading, not what you feel comfortable as. Does that make sense? So if you feel comfortable taking profits at 5 and 10 ticks, but the market is offering you 1,000 ticks as an average range, yeah, that might work. it might work, but you have to be super disciplined to not overtrade, not to take complete nonsense trades. Even though as a scalper, you're never going to have superstar setups. You're going to have setups that are okay. And I'm actually against the whole star setup thing because it doesn't allow for situational awareness. I'm more on the lines of let's try a couple of trades to feel things out. And then if they work, you have a pretty decent idea that your initial hypothesis from a larger time frame is actually reacting to intraday price action. But when that starts to diverge, then I know that I need to do a little bit more extra work. But yeah, I have quite a few mental triggers like anyone. It's just that I'm probably more aware of them than most people. And on most days, even when I notice that I'm slipping, I can pull it back by the end of the day. So let's say the day doesn't start off well, and or it starts off well, but then New York session sucks, right? So I did well in Asia, did okay pre-market, and then we had that weird sort of initial balance and the period before the euro close, and I decide to trade that. I'm not that great in that time period. My sort of good trading opportunities, the highest trading opportunities are half an hour before the London close. So that's where I should be trading. Do I sometimes try other trades? Yeah. But overall, in the last 20 years, that tends to be a pain point of mine. So you can see that if I'm on fast markets earlier, right? Very rarely will I find a trade before the London close, the half an hour before London close, that is like, yeah, it's doing what I want it to do. And, and then you look at some of my streams towards the end of the day, and it's almost like it's a different person trading because I have high conviction, I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm expecting, whereas that first, like especially the NYMEX initial balance, so between 2 and 3 p.m. my time, right now it would be 1 and 2 because of the stupid daylight savings thing. But generally my sucky time is the first hour of NYMEX. And it doesn't matter what I trade, I just suck at it, right? The only difference there is if I'm carrying over an Asia trade that is already in quite a bit of profit, but then you're just looking for, continuation because you've identified maybe an outlier day. So yeah, to me, that will be a big mental trigger, right? It's like initiating a brand new trade in the time of day when I traditionally suck. So when I'm doing that, I'm like, why am I doing this? And I might result in a couple of losers. A couple of losers might result from that time. But because I then go, okay, D, so you're slipping. First you need to chill out, go do something else. And then let's come back for the correct time of day to actually look for the setups that we know are high probability. We, meaning me, myself, and I, because, talk to myself in plural. Why not? But yeah, so knowing those kinds of things about myself enables me to pull my shit together and then be profitable at the end of the day, right? But when I was a less experienced trader, I would just let it happen. And look, I still let it happen on some combines, right? I'm like, you know what? I'm just tired of this combine. Let's just get it over the finish line. And sometimes I end up blowing up, just like anybody else. But other times I end up pushing it over the line and then having some more XFAs waiting in the wings, right? It depends on the day. But in the funded account, I take no risks. And I'm super aware of what I'm doing. And, if you're just doing one account, or you shouldn't be copy trading unless you're like a proven payouts and all that anyway, but you should be focusing on one account, strongest times of your day, and setups, and then noticing when your mental triggers start to pop into your head. Immediately you need to write them down. I don't know whether you say Mr. Frostline, so I'm going to assume, maybe wrongly, that you are a man. Men have this tendency to bottle emotions down. It's not that they don't experience them. In fact, I would hypothesize that men are actually more emotional than women, even though women are better at expressing emotions. But men, you like to keep it all like deep inside, like don't let anybody see your weakness. And this is especially pronounced in Gen X and millennials, and especially baby boomers. But, you know, one of the good things about, I think, the newer generation is that a lot of men are no longer afraid to express the emotions, right? So that's maybe a positive in trading, certainly, because you are able to admit that you are being a bit emotional here and that you're behaving like a, you know, sort of a 3-year-old throwing their toys out of a pram whenever you lose a trade. So, you know, you have to be hyper attuned to how the emotions are kicking up. And remember this, every emotion is a result of your primal brain. It's not prefrontal cortex thing. It's always some kind of, it's either ERN causing risk behaviors. So, you know, you basically start seeing these numbers on the screen that are dancing in front of your eyes. Your brain actually sees that as a death threat. Death threat, right? It's not a death threat. There's no lion. There's no somebody pointing a gun at you. You know, there's no real death threat. It's just numbers on the screen. And yet they elicit a huge emotional reaction. Why? Because money is emotion. Because money is an emotional thing for a lot of people. And once you become more attuned to all of that, suddenly you start noticing how much nonsense and randomness you have in your thoughts that are causing all of these emotions. So whenever you lose a trade, your brain will perceive that as a mistake. It's not a mistake, it's just probabilities. So you shouldn't say to yourself, you're a muppet, you suck. Just say to yourself, okay, this is ERN, this is error-related negativity. I've just lost a trade and my brain is going, what the hell are you doing? This is a mistake. It's not a mistake. So say it to yourself, write it down. This is just probabilities. This time it didn't work. It's fine. Keep testing. Soothe yourself internally. Very important. Be kind to yourself. Okay? So hopefully this helps. Definitely a mental trigger thing for you, Mr. Frostline. John. Hi D, if it's too complicated I understand, but how do you evaluate the initial balance? I use daily rate, IDR. I would assume that's some kind of daily range. Initial balance is just the first hour of any exchange open, right? So you have London. In my time zone, that's from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Whatever the high and low is that day. It's basic profile concept. So that's what the initial balance is, yeah? What do I know about dark poles? I'm going to assume that this is dark pools. See the GEX levels, gamma flip, weak put, but that's the dark pools. But they're not really dark. It's just they were called that since most retail didn't know about them. But I've known about them from the start of my career. So I found out that there's a thing called the option expiry, and that there are these option strikes with higher open interest and or implied volatility around them that usually bring us the market maker activity, because that's what they use, right? Because they need deep liquidity pools to execute their positions that are typically larger size than any of us here. And then you say they can affect the price more than options. No, dark pools are GEX levels. Okay? So dark pool implies that you're looking at the full options chain and looking at volatility and Greeks per strike, and then figuring out which one of those are anchor points. So that's what my anchor points are. They are effectively areas that have some anomalies inside them. And how I calculate those anomalies, again, is something I look at as a proprietary algorithm. But yeah, so like I said, I've had a lot of interest in my levels and why they're so accurate. And if you have the patience just to wait for them, all the power to you. I don't, personally, even though I have endless patience in other areas, like sitting in trades until the cows come home and then milking the market for all it's worth on the day. I mean, can we get any more jokes? I've got to give the cow hat out now, don't I? Gotta give the cow hat. Let's reach out for the cow hat, because so many things here are to do with milking the markets. And this was actually one of my longtime followers who said he looked at my thumbnail for last week's session, and it said, so holding the trades until the cows come home. But then he also said, I think it's also to do with milking the markets. So both of those work for me, but let's put the cow hat on and see whether we can do it. So dark pools are not some dark pools that you find on the dark web and then somebody tells you, hey, there's a level there's a level at like 82.50. Nobody else knows about it. So the dark pools are derived from Greeks and the options chain of those strikes, right? So GEX levels, that's it. If you're just looking at open interest, that doesn't tell the full story, right? It's a piece of the puzzle for sure, but it's not the full picture. Let's put it that way. Simcha, I recognize your photo. Is this maybe Simon? Do you think it would have any benefit if Topstep displayed open P&L and ticks instead of dollars? I've already said it, as you have, to be triggered by flashing red and green. Honestly, that's my only pet peeve, that you can't change the colors of this. I am also triggered by red and green a lot. That's why I changed this. I tried to change that. I think you can change the dome, but I think you can just hide. I don't know. They've been adding new features, so let's see what's in here, okay? Let's explore. So this is dome, bid, and ask color. I want that to be green and red. I don't mind that. There's the hide P&L column on the dome, but I don't think they have anything of the sorts for the chart. That might be something that we might want to suggest that they do, to change the flashing of the red, because I find it super triggering, right? I have a bad connotation with red in particular, because as soon as I see red, I think blood, right? And it's just a very, very bad thing for me. And every time I'm in a position, the way I actually run this, and I think you've been on my streams, Simchaberg. So what I do, I just literally do a marker, on my other platform. Sorry about the white charts. Most people call me a psychopath for having white charts, but I'm an elderly person. And my eyes don't work as well. Dark is very difficult for me to see, and it strains my eyes for some reason. So this is what I do, right? I put a marker on, and I don't have the P&L there. So that's what I look at most of the time. I just have the trade marker. So nothing is flashing red and green depending on the ticks that I'm winning or losing, or gaining or diminishing. And that helps me massively, right? So just staring at that, not at the actual P&L, that doesn't even exist for me. And I'm just, looking at that, determining how the trade is doing, and objectively looking at the price action, right? And they're going, 104 ticks, so should I take it? And trust me, I fall into that as well. So if I were to only look at this, I would definitely get triggered, right? They don't have it yet, but it is definitely something that maybe we can ask, pretty please, from MP to put it on the lists. So yeah. As they keep the platform pretty stable, I'm guessing that they're going to be doing more and more features. And if nobody's actually asked that on that feature thing, well, that's the perfect time to do it. If I get an option, like if I end up on fast markets with MP or something, I will mention it to him. But, it's he's not on that frequently anymore. You might have noticed. I think he's trying to be, but he's a very busy man. So yeah, if we ever happen to cross paths on the thingy, I might ask him, either in the green room or something, so that we don't take up too much space. Massini says, hi Dee, hope you're doing well. Do you do meetings here in London about trading? I've been doing stock market since 2 years. I'm still not profitable. Looking to meet traders in London. I'm not in London anymore. I lived in London for over 20 some years, and then I moved to Surrey. I'm actually closer to West Sussex than I am to London because it's like on the border. So I'm pretty far out. I sometimes, very rarely, pop into London, mainly to get one of my dogs checked out with our old vets, because I trust them endlessly for like big procedures. But I've got to say, I don't really, I don't generally do many things in London. Even when I was in London, I don't know, the London trading community, especially in the futures markets on the US exchanges, is not as big as you think it is. So I would guess that there's a lot more people who are trading like CFDs and stuff. I'm not a part of that. But yeah. I also have a bad chronic illness, so that limits my energy a lot. So I'm mostly housebound. Like I do dog walks and stuff, but anything else really takes it out of me. Tried to go to the cinema on Sunday, and today I'm kind of paying for it. But yeah, I don't really know where to point you, because again, the only people that I've ever met in London were my market stalkers who were based in London. In fact, one of them, Claudio, was like literally living around the corner from my old house. That was handy. So yeah, I don't know where to point you, really. And usually if they have like conventions and stuff, that will be in like, what's that thing in East London, Excel and O2? That's where they usually meet. But yeah, I haven't, apart from the time when I worked for a prop firm, which was many moons ago, and at this point, I didn't really know many traders. So yeah, go figure. John is saying, I have IBRK. What's RBRK? I don't know. Oh yeah, oh God. See, I'm still not awake. Interactive brokers, of course. Hey, I've got an account with them too. And TD account and MentorQ, TradingView? TD? Or TradeOvate? Yeah. Do you have any suggestions for the best way to learn the dynamics and understanding of options and their applications in the futures market? Honestly, MentorQ has some pretty good videos. I've done a video on my channel, or was it 2 videos? I don't know. In my method, I do go into, I have a new lecture on it, and I'm actually preparing to finish off another lecture that kind of dives deeper into the whole gamma levels. The best way is just to observe and to focus on the best ones. So when I say best ones, they're the most relevant ones: Gamma Wall, GEX 1, 2, and 3, and HVL in MentorQ. And then just try to understand, maybe track it somewhere, and try to figure out if, like for example, I know the GEX 2 a lot of the times brings a very good reversal, and on the days where and the days when GEX 2 gives way and sustains a 30-minute candle above it or below it with the direction of the move, it tends to bring a continuation. But a lot of the times, like vast majority of the times, GEX 2 markers on MentorQ tend to be reversal points. So that's what I can point you. So yeah. How long have I been trading? At this point, coming up to almost 20 years. So it's like 19 years and 7 months to be exact. So yeah. If I moo at my dogs with my cow hat on, how do they react? They don't really. I mean, I could try. Do I have any dogs? I have one. Okay, who's this? No, I have 2 dogs that look like twins, and they're different genders. So this is either 7. No, Maddie? It's Maddie. They are literally so similar. Let's see. Moo! Moo! Nothing. He literally woke up and is just looking at me going, "You alright?" Nothing. Maddie, can you come here? Let's show that. Come on up. Yeah, you want to stretch. You've just woken up. I know. I'm so sorry making you work. I'm so sorry. Oh my god. Right, let's try and moo. So what's this on my head? Doesn't care. Moo. Oh god, what is my life? Mooing on YouTube. Great. That's my life. With a cow hat. As you can see, he doesn't care. Like, absolutely couldn't care less about me mooing at him with a cow hat. My dogs are pretty resilient. Like, they're nuts in other ways, right? They are completely crazy. What? Now you don't want to go down. Come on. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. My co-host. Thank you. Oh, yeah. All right. Go down. Now Crichton wants a piece of you want some love? We're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait for love later, okay? Yeah, so my dogs are pretty nonplussed about things you have on your head and stuff. But if somebody drives a car through the farm around the back, which is very far away from our house, 3 of them just lose it. They're like, this is our land. It's not our land, but they think it is, because we only own like a tiny portion of the estate where the farm is. They have like 2,000 acres. We maybe have like half an acre, maybe. But yeah, so they are watchdogs because they're half Pomeranian and half Cavalier. Cavaliers were traditionally hunting dogs, but back in the day they were used as bird dogs. So they used to go and retrieve ducks. So they have a very good sort of retrieval instinct, and a lot of them just love the ball. It's like they live for it. But yeah, as I've demonstrated, Manny doesn't care that I have a silly hat on. So yeah. James Doyle saying the same thing that Aunt Marie says. If I die, I want to come back as one of your dogs. Hey, we might be cloning some of them, so that could be a possibility. Because I'm not really looking to kind of breed random puppies and stuff, but we have some absolute legends with us. Unfortunately, one of them is beautiful, but she does have a bit of a, quite a big overbite, and it makes her look like a teddy bear. She doesn't know better. She's just like constantly like sitting there with her tongue out, and she's the most chill dog ever. Her recall is 100% no matter what is going on around her, and all because she's super food driven, but she's so calm. She's calm. She comes and sits on top of you. You don't notice. We call it the ninja move, right? She ninjas into your lap, and you're like, oh, I have a dog on me. What happened? And when I'm not feeling well, she insists on being on top of me. She just will not let me get up, and she does everything in her power to kind of pin me down. So it's very cute. And so we were thinking 4 of them are big legends, 2 of them are a little bit weird and have some behavioral troubles. Interestingly, Manny has gotten better. So Manny was a bit of a wild child, slightly weird, and we had to neuter him because, and I'm not always for permanent neutering. Most of my males are on Supralorin, which is like a neutering thing, so I can cycle them off of it because it's good for their hormones to be on and off. And unfortunately, he decided when one of the carers at the doggy school was getting a stick out of his tail. He's not very good with strangers. He's a bit mistrusting. I'm hot in this hat, by the way. I know it's very entertaining, but I'm like roasting because we're starting to get proper summer. Now my hair is gonna be all messed up. That's great. And yeah, so he was being bathed by one of the new girls, so he didn't know her very well, and he had a stick in his tail, not a euphemism. An actual stick. So she was trying to get it out, and because he didn't know her, because she was doing something weird to him, he turned around and he actually bit her. And he's only a small little dude, right? So I was like, mate, no, that's not happening. You need to. And he was also starting to pick fights with the biggest, not pick fights as in like fights, because no, my dogs don't fight. The most they have is a disagreement, and usually over a bone or something. or a toy that they're seeing as super high value. So yeah, they were kind of obviously not happy the fact that Manny bit her through to blood, like he actually drew blood. So I just thought to myself, yeah, you have some behaviors that need to be tackled, and supralorin just wasn't enough. So we had him done with the, it's a weird thing what they do now. Before they would just whip off the thingies, right? And it's basically a new procedure where they just make an incision and they pop them out kind of internally. So it's a much smaller incision and not nearly as painful. And he didn't even notice. So he technically, like, aesthetically, he still has something there, but obviously he's neutered. And it's interesting to know that that's how they do it now. It's brilliant. But yeah, so he has a streak, but most of the other dogs, they're just complete cuddle bugs. But they're loud, though. They are loud. When they see someone driving through that farm field, they all kick off. It's just like, you need earplugs. Let's just put it that way. And there's nothing really much you can do to stop them because they are protecting the place. And to be honest, I don't want it any other way. You know, we're pretty remote here for many reasons. But you know, the property is quite difficult to find anyway. But with the way our dogs are, nobody's coming in here because we have two dogs that are, you know, they're litter mates, but they're much bigger than the others. So they're almost like small Labradors, and boy, are they have voices. The others are yappers, but these two, they're like, woo, woo. They sound like they're like a Doberman or something. It's crazy. So, you know, when you have a massive amount of noise coming from a house, you're not going to pick the fight with all 8 of them. So yeah, I kind of like it. It's a little annoying, for sure. How much does it cost to have all of these dogs? Well, let's just say with the doggy school and food, and because I want to treat them as well. I don't like to... oh, look, Copper is lighting it up. What's the time? 7 minutes after LME opened. Surprise. With the doggy school, with the food, with the toys, and with the vet, and obviously veterinary insurance, the procedures that some of them have to have. With our elderly cavalier is expensive, man. Like, he is, he costs more than all of the other 7. But yeah, let's just say it's kind of like putting one child through college, through like a decent university. That's how much it costs. So it's not cheap, but also not. It's less than you think, right? It's Leonard, the one that's coughing in the background now. I don't know if you can hear that. You probably can. His echo, and the thing is, because he was technically born with a heart murmur, technically, but then that disappeared. That went into his file that he's got a heart murmur, even though he didn't have it for like 10 years. He was heart clear. It was an innocent puppy murmur, but because he's a cavalier, they put that down as a pre-existing condition, congenital condition. So when the time came that age decided to attack his heart, I tried to get like insurance, and they said, no, sorry, he's got a pre-existing condition. And I was like, what? And then I had a big argument with them, and they were like, well, he was born. And I said, no, he was never treated for it, nor was he born with it. It was an innocent puppy murmur. And a lot of puppies get the innocent murmur from the stress of the birth. And I said, so what? He had a congenital heart condition that was completely invisible after the first 6 months of life for 10 years, and then that's a pre-existing condition, is it? And they're like, well, sorry. So I couldn't get insurance for him. So unfortunately, that costs, like, normal echo, depends on where you go, but the normal echocardiogram, every time you do it, ranges from about 600 pounds all the way up to like 1,200 pounds. And sometimes you have to do the echo twice a week if we're like changing medications. Not twice a week, once every 2 weeks. So that's like, an extra cost. His medications cost a pretty penny. You know, he's right now on Vetmedin and Tresto, furosemide, or however the hell you say it. And I also buy ubiquinol for him because ubiquinol helps other things. It's not a cure or anything, but it just keeps the damage to other organs a little bit less. So yeah, he is by far the most expensive dog that I've ever owned. The others don't cost that much, you know. Occasionally, obviously, we had some surgeries and spaying and stuff, but yeah. Alright, so Copper is starting to slowly wake up. Wakey, wakey, Copper. Good morning. Glad to have you join the party. So we're going to see how much they can actually move it. What is the correlation between gold and copper? Let's have a look at that, because that's useful for this summer day. I will say that the correlation that we've seen yesterday between copper and crude oil, which was basically a perfect negative of a factor of 1, that's less today. So we have minus 0.5. But let's have a look at gold correlation, even though I think this is not going to be the primary thing to look at. Again, plus 0.5. So nothing is too correlated. Gold isn't rollover, copper isn't. So it's going to be less spiky than gold. But yeah, it's finally starting to go, hey, maybe we should go above VWAP. So the first stopping point might be 550. I don't know whether they'll manage to break that. If they do break it, the next stop would be 556. Maybe a swipe to 560, but my target is kind of in the middle of those. That'll be the aggressive target. There might come, you know, a time of day, if we're still kind of hanging around here, I may take my profits, but if they continue to push, then I'm going to keep this particular target a little bit further up. Crude oil is just in range, is trying to figure out. We've got 7 minutes left on this stream, and then we're going to have that pre-NYMEX time of day, when we may see crude oil getting a little bit more crazy. But for now, it's almost doing kind of a bear flag move. Don't really subscribe too much to bear flags, especially not on crude. But yeah, it's basically a range from the failed auction, and they're trying to decide what to do with it. So some tests of these levels where they came from. Oh dear, here we go. Here we go. They're gonna stop me out. Ah! What is this? What is this? This looks very news driven. I'm not gonna get out until I know what it is, but it's not great. Somebody say something. Come on. What is it? This is gonna be Trump, isn't it? He's like, yes, we have complete and total nightmare. Oh God, I don't know what it is. I'm gonna exit because I don't know what it is. So yeah, you can always re-enter. We'll see. But that was annoying, and I'm not seeing any news yet. Anybody seeing news? Yeah. So NQ is reacting. Gold is reacting. Crude oil reacting. This is the news. We need to wait to see what it is. So yeah. Yeah. Maria says, remember when I was little, dogs didn't need insurance, they ate rice. Mine eat raw food, so yeah. EU does not have a new date to communicate regarding a plan to fully phase out Russian oil, Commission spokesperson. Don't know whether that would be enough to cause this, frankly. I think it's something else, but we're not getting it yet. Alright, so now I'm gonna have to wait and see whether this was it or whether we maybe... And this was also like 10-15 minutes ago. I doubt that it's there. Can you talk more about trading? I've talked about trading for the full hour, maybe 70 minutes of the start of the stream. We've got nothing else to say. You've got the levels. I tried a short crude oil trade, might try again if this ends up to be a storm in a teacup. You've got all the levels. I did gold, silver, crude oil, copper. What else do you want from me, man? But yeah, so I did the full serious analysis in the first part, and then we're talking dogs. Here's how it is. Alright, so that's gonna be it. I've got to make way for the main broadcast. You got to meet Manny. Some of you have met him already before. And as you've seen, he does not react to silly hats or silly noises being directed at him. Alright, that's all I have for you for the metal markets. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Doesn't look like this is going to be an easy day. We've got headline risk again. Push, pull, tug of war, push, pull, up, down. We don't know where we're going. But yeah, keep your eyes on financialjuice.com. Again, I'm not convinced that this is it. Like, the EU does not have... Like, sure, okay, fully phasing out Russian oil, that might be an issue. But if that was such a big issue, why are we not... Again, this is what I'm saying. Trump is the only one who has the power to move crude oil by 1 million ticks. So why not the EU? You know, why not? It's like Commission spokesperson. Why aren't they moving crude oil like 1 million ticks in one direction? But no, it's only Trump. If anyone knows more about moving the markets, he knows a lot about moving the markets. He knows the most about them. I'm so gonna get assassinated for this. Anyways, it's time to finish the stream before somebody sends MIBs to kidnap me and D disappears forever. This was the metal markets. I'm Market Stalker D. Let's see what the day brings. It's going to be another interesting one or another hangover day. It depends on the headline risk. But yeah, you've got the levels. Stay vigilant. Make sure that you're not oversizing. Small size, lots of ticks is my motto going into this week as well and for the foreseeable future. Enjoy the rest of the broadcast. I don't think that I'm on unless my schedule changes in a blink of an eye, which can happen. I will see you again tomorrow for another episode of the Metal Markets. That's all I have for you. I'm Market Stalker D. I will see you tomorrow. Take care.